Former US President Donald Trump is suing three of the world's biggest social media companies after he was banned from their platforms. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are in his firing line. Watch out. Mr. Trump was locked out of his accounts in January after rioters stormed the Capitol building. John Decker is Grey Television Network's White House correspondent. I spoke with him a little earlier. The Donald never shies away from a challenge, but has he got any chance of winning this lawsuit?
Very small chance, Chris. I'm a lawyer as well as a White House correspondent. And unfortunately for President Trump and the class that is a part of this federal lawsuit, the First Amendment does not apply to private sector corporations. It applies to government censorship and speech regulation. And what the president is saying is that Facebook and Twitter, Google and YouTube have, because of their status, because they are just so powerful, that they've risen to the status of a state actor. I think that very few courts, if any, will buy that argument.
What is he trying to achieve then? Is he, hopefully trying to get reinstated? Is this the negotiation point to begin the process?
That's a big part of it. Keep in mind, he's been very frustrated, Chris, because he hasn't had that outlet of Twitter or Facebook for 6 months now, since he was taken off both of those platforms. That's extremely frustrating for someone who used those social media platforms to rise to the presidency and to govern during the course of his 4 years through those platforms. That frustrates him. He can't get his message out instantaneously to the large base that he has in America. And so, to your point, there are three things that the president, through this lawsuit, is hoping to achieve. One is damages. He hasn't indicated what kind of monetary damages that would be. Two is doing away with an element of the Communication Decency Act of 1996 that protects these social media companies. And third, to your point, is trying to reinstate himself and his account on both Twitter and Facebook.
And what's been the response from Facebook and Twitter, if any?
No response at all, not even a statement. I think they're going to let their response to this lawsuit stand on its own, response to this complaint stand on its own, and let their arguments do the talking. These social media companies have been challenged before in the federal courts, and because of the various protections that they too have First Amendment protections, by the way. The individuals or entities challenging Facebook and Twitter have lost every time. And that's why I don't believe that former President Trump will be successful in this particular lawsuit.
I think it's fair comment to say, John, that conservatives always seem to cop a raw deal from these kind of platforms, while the left is given basically free rein to spew their hatred. That's not an unfair comment, is it?
Well, certainly conservatives complain that their voices are diminished on Facebook and on Twitter. There's certainly many examples of individuals who have had their accounts suspended or, like the president, done away with altogether because of things that they have posted on those social media platforms. That can't be argued. But Facebook and Twitter have a code of conduct. They say that they act in good faith in maintaining that code of conduct. And what they also say is that the president has violated that code of conduct. And that's the reason why the president right now is not on either of those social media platforms.
We're all watching Donald Trump very carefully, conducting his rallies, talking about the midterms and how important it is for the Republicans. Have any Republicans put their hand up to run in 2024? And do you think it's still possible he will?
I think that the president is keeping his powder dry, so to speak. Yeah. Certainly he has made every indication that he wants to be in the mix should he decide that he wants to run for president in 2024. That being said, there are a number of Republicans, nationally known Republicans, including the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who have clearly made it known that Should President Trump, former President Trump, decline to run in 2024, they will certainly run for the Republican nomination. They think that Joe Biden is beatable, or whoever the Democratic nominee is. After all, Joe Biden is not getting any younger. But clearly, former President Trump wants to be in the conversation, and he will continue to be in the conversation, Chris, as long as he continues to have these campaign rallies, which attract so many members of his base to them in Ohio and in Florida. And he also wants to be very relevant in terms of trying to get Republicans to win back the House and the Senate in the midterm elections in 2022.
He's relevant, all right. John Decker, thank you very much for that insight.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Have a good one.